What's up, everybody? It's Jason back with another video, and I am back for a special tag for 2023. Yes, that's right. It's back. The return of maybe the most unanticipated tag in the vinyl community, and that is the cassette tag. This is Cassette Tag 2023. This time, bigger and better than ever. I've actually got 20 questions this time, plus a bonus question. So in total, that's 21 questions. I think last year when I did the tag, I did maybe only 12 or 13 questions. So we will run through it, cover multiple genres. Many people will not be able to do this tag, but I give you points if you do at least attempt it or try. And a few people will be able to get all the way through the tag, I think. So I have in front of me a mound of cassettes just for the tag, and it written down on a piece of paper as well. So let's dive into the cassette tag. Number one, show us a cassette from 2022, either a cassette that was released in 2022 or one that you picked up in 2022. And this is also going to answer another question later on, but I'll show a different one for that. This is Wormrot Hiss, and it came out in 2022, and it's actually still sealed, as you can tell. I have not opened up the seal because I'm waiting for a CD copy, and I'm just weird collector like that, kind of want to keep it sealed. We'll see how long I can last. What a killer album, though. I also included in my top 20, or my top 10 for 2022, so this is a 2022 release. Next, show a punk or new wave tape. I'm going to show some hardcore punk here, some new school hardcore punk, Tight Lip. These guys were around just before the pandemic. I think they are gone now, but they also included one Ashley Dupe, who is actually a person who works at a tape manufacturing company in Montreal. So there you go, hardcore punk with tape manufacturing roots. Or for something maybe a little bit more known, old school, that is, DRI, Dealing With It. This is my OG copy, or an OG copy, not the one that I owned when I was a kid, but one I was able to obtain. It's on Fringe product as well, Canadian pressing. Love this cassette, loved it when it came out. Next, a metal or hard rock tape. Got a lot of metal in my tape collection. I'll show a couple here. This is one I've been rocking a lot lately, Cadaveric Poison. This is on the Dying Victims label. That hand, very zombie-esque. Of course, if you haven't guessed it already, it's death metal. Cavernous, old school death metal. Just how we all like it. And a pretty cool green shell case as well. Another metal tape just to show, with also a colored shell. How about a sealed Municipal Waste? This is the Fatal Feast album on cassette. There you go. Number 4, a tape still sealed. Okay, we'll go with that. Municipal Waste. There you go. Fatal Feast. I've got a few tapes that are still sealed. I might actually do a separate video, top 5 tapes sealed. Stay tuned for that. Number 5, most experimental tape. I have a lot of experimental music on cassette. It's kind of a genre for that format. But I'll show this one, which was actually a very recent pickup. This might be the most recent experimental and noise cassette that I picked up last year. This is Tonch Dwelling. It's put out by Absurd Expositions out of Montreal. We did kind of a joint noise show with them. One of the guys behind it. And this was one of the releases on their label. The song titles in here. It's pretty much... Oh yeah, and it includes this picture here. Future site of Raython Pastures. Kind of cool. This is some harsh wall noise, or some intricate sounds, I guess you could say, on Absurd Expositions. I'm not sure if it was a 2022 release or not. It might have been a little bit older than that, but there's an experimental tape. A tape from the 80s. Got lots of those. How about a little bit of Hagar? So here's Sammy Hagar doing his thing. Sammy Hagar on cassette, or movie soundtrack here, River's Edge. Killer movie soundtrack. Also have this on vinyl. Hallows Eve, Slayer, Fate's Warning, more Slayer, Agent Orange, more Slayer, Wipers, and Burning Spear. What a lineup track listing on this, River's Edge. If you haven't seen that movie, very cool movie too, from the 80s. A hip-hop or R&B tape is number 7. We will go with the classic Ice-T Power cassette. Remember getting Ice-T, this one, and Rhyme Pays, his first 2 albums back in the day, some gangster rap, done well. This is a US copy, it looks like, yeah, with the see-through shell. We had, our shells were not see-through in Canada back in the day. But yeah, Ice-T Power, classic. Tape you have on CD or vinyl as well. Well, this one I was going to show the other day in the Vinyl Tag 2023 for the Hat Trek, because I actually do have this on CD and vinyl as well. This is Cerebral Rot. More death metal. Stenchy, odious death metal. In fact, the album's called Odious. Odious Descent into Decay on 20 Buck Spin, who put out some of the sickest death and doom metal, and on cassette as well as other formats. So yeah, I've got that on all 3 formats actually. Now, your most rare expensive tape. I did a quick search through my tapes. I gotta say, overall, I got about about 500 cassettes. Let me do a quick check here. Yeah, so just around 500. I actually divide up my tapes in the Discogs, so I had to kind of add up the totals per genre. So it's about 150 split, actually. 150 punk tapes, 150 metal tapes, and about 150 experimental or noise tapes. And then about 100 other tapes that are hip-hop, rock, or whatever. Where was I? So we're going with my most rare and expensive tape. So out of that, I'm going to show you the top 2 most expensive tapes, metal, and top 2 punk. I think the punk one wins out, actually, but this was kind of oddly enough for me with the metal tapes. This is actually the number 1 most expensive cassette in my collection, which is not an OG pressing, by the way, at all. This is a 2021 release, sold out quickly. This is 200 Stab Wounds, Slave to the Scalpel. And it's on Maggot Records, not 20 Buck Spin. Surprise, surprise. And I guess sold out really quick on their Bandcamp. The lowest this is sold for was 18 bucks. The highest was 67, and the median was 37.52. Now, following behind that in my metal collection is a more old school cassette that makes more sense in terms of highest. Morbid Angel, Blessed Are the Sick. This came out in 91 on Relativity. Earache, US pressing of the cassette. Something I only got maybe a few years ago. But nevertheless, it's sold as low as 8 bucks, as high as 66, and median 33. Now I'm quoting all Canadian prices, so 33 median is around 20 bucks US, maybe-ish, 21. For hip-hop, for punk, my 2 highest valuable, according to Discogs, not necessarily according to me. Again, a very new cassette, a reissue of this bad boy. Bad Brains debut album, self-titled. This is a red shell version, reissue that came out. I'm not even sure if it says what year it came out, but originally the album was from 82. This one is sold as low as 22 bucks and as high as 60, median price 46.90. And we have Shit. Yep, this is the band Shit. This is live in the UK, 2014 recording that they self-released. There it is there. I wrote down what it is in case I lose this white cassette. Not much information, but this sort of self-release cassette by the Toronto-based hardcore punk band SHIT. If you haven't heard them, check them out. This cassette has gone for 40 bucks is the cheapest, 46 median, and 53 Canadian the highest. So, some of my most valuable according to Discogs. Back to the list. Techno or electronic tape. Got a lot of those. Or synth tape too. So I'll show techno tape here. This is a band that is extremely hard to pronounce. The Shucks band. I think they're UK producers. Got a number of their records. And then this cassette, Linear S Decoded. I have a feeling this is on Avian Records, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think so because of the catalog number there, AVN LP02. Otherwise, the text is extremely small to read. Another electronic cassette, synthwave or vaporwave, in fact. Show George Costanza. Don't know if I showed that last year or not, but this is the Costanza cassette on the Lost Angels vaporwave label. A label run by a couple of friends I know, and out of Canada. They do pretty limited run cassettes, and yeah, that definitely looks like a vaporwave vibe going on there. Total 80s retro. Not sure when this cassette came out, but I'm sure it's rare as hell. Number 11, a tape you bought. A tape you bought at a show. Well, instead of showing a punk tape, I bought a lot of punk tapes at shows. I'm going to show another electronic one, actually. This is a group called Non-Lieu. They're from Quebec City. Francophone, Les Fantasmes du Passé. They're kind of a two-piece, male and female. Synthwave, dark wave, some vocals. Really cool show. Saw them perform before the pandemic, so a few years ago, and bought this cassette at the show. Don't know if they've got anything new, but really pretty cool synthwave stuff. Cold wave as well. So that's a tape I bought at a show. Number 12, show a tape with a colored shell. Well, we've been showing those all along, haven't we? I guess I'll go with this one too. It's not only colored but speckled. Yeah, how's that for novelty? There's your color variant vinyl collectors. So color variants also showing up in the cassette world as well. This is an experimental release. Organ Figures for Flint by Uhu, UUHUU, on a British label called Soundholes. Soundholes number 21. This came out a little while back, actually. This is 2008. Abstract, kind of new agey is what my notes were for that one. An import tape from a country other than your own. So, Americans, you may have a little bit of trouble with this one, but you may have some Canadian pressing cassettes in your collection, so that would work. I'm going to show something from Greece, actually, from Europe, from the old world, as they say. This is No and On, N-O-O-N, Akaya, from Greece on the OSM label, Opioid Slot Machines cassette label. Label owner I have also met in Greece, actually. Very cool dude. Some sort of dark techno and industrial stuff mostly on this label. A lot of cassettes, a few cassettes anyway. This one I got off their Bandcamp, so it came all the way from Greece. That's an import. Number 14, will you buy more tapes in 2023? Absolutely. Why or why not? I love collecting tapes. They're small, they're compact, they're easy to collect. They're a lot of fun to collect. And yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. It's also cheaper than records at this point too, so that would be another reason for that. Yeah, so I'm going to say my tape collecting began, when I was a kid. Obviously, I grew up on cassettes, so certain genres like metal, punk, hip-hop were all cassette genres for me, pretty much. I did start off with vinyl because I'm that old, but, really collecting, buying stuff on my own was a lot of cassettes for sure. And then I kind of got back into it. I made mixtapes, in the 90s, some DJ mixtapes, etc. But then I got really back into it, I guess, around 2008, 2010. Started buying some experimental tapes. And then, of course, going back to punk shows and metal shows, you start seeing the cassettes coming out. And nowadays with Bandcamp, also a lot of bands releasing tape on Bandcamp too. So, number 15, what do I play my tapes on? Well, since you asked, this guy right here. That's one of them that I play them on. But I do play tapes on a whole bunch of different systems around the house. I also have a boombox in the bedroom, has a CD deck on the top, or maybe it's a cassette Yeah, CD deck on the top and a cassette in the front, like a Sony boombox. And then I have another old school boombox that was gifted to me downstairs in the living room, dining room. Then I have a double deck boombox at our shop. We actually play a lot of mixtapes in the shop. In fact, we play almost exclusively mixtapes in our shop. And I have a couple more of these double decks too. So you find them vintage. Get a lot of them at thrift stores, etc. Sometimes got to clean them up a little bit, but doesn't cost too much. Show a mixtape or a blank tape is number 16. We're getting there. So I actually got two really kick-ass mixtapes. One I haven't even listened to yet, but I know it's kick-ass just from the songs inside. And both of these were VCLTs, actually. This one came at me from Cliff, the vinyl cheapskate. Kind of lost this one, Cliff. And I just found it in the pile here, so there you go. This is Deadly Death Volume 2. I think Cliff made this himself. It's got his email on the inside. Lots of cool metal on this thing. You got Entombed, Artificial Brain, Witch, Gatecreeper, Sadism, Doom Mentor. I definitely got to rock this mixtape soon. And also VCLT, I got this one from our friend in Finland, Tommy. Tommy from Finland. So No Future from Finland. Stay Punk, of course, on the back. So a good hardcore mixtape, it looks like. And maybe even a recycled cassette recording as well. So a couple of cool mixtapes. I, of course, made a bunch of mixtapes this year and sent out a few as well. So maybe you guys received one. What's next? Number 17, show an album you would like to have on tape or a tape you want on vinyl. So I got both. Well, obviously, my grail of cassettes right now are these two heavy metal albums that I grew up on as a kid. I always had this on cassette. Bathory's first album, or how about Hellhammer's first album, Apocalyptic Raids. Would love to have those on cassette, and those tapes sell for very high price. At least 100, maybe 200 bucks for a used copy of a cassette, which, you know, if I win the lottery or I have some extra money to burn, maybe it'll happen one day. I doubt very much I would stumble upon a Canadian pressing, bonsai pressing of one of those cassettes. Most people know exactly what they're worth at this point. Or show a tape that you want to have on vinyl. This is my grail right now for vinyl. I have it on cassette. Is Big Daddy Kane's second album. It's a Big Daddy thing. Contains 2 bonus tracks, which you probably won't get on the vinyl, but absolutely sick album on Cold Chillin'. Cold Chillin' did not really do a lot of reissuing or vinyl at all, actually. As I said, we kind of grew up on these on cassette, so Big Daddy Kane would be another one, or would be one I'd like to get on vinyl. Now, show an 8-track or a VHS tape. 8-track's the one thing I do not own, but I have some VHS tapes. Now, how's these for some old school VHS cassettes? How about Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky? Yep, this one's actually an NFB edition, it looks like, from the Canadian government, or the National Film Board documentary. This is just part 1, Thought Control in a Democratic Society. Everybody loves those good old Noam Chomsky sort of conspiracy theory stuff from the 80s. Or how about some Severed Heads? This is Overhead. Bought this used at a swap meet. This is from Network Records 1990. Of course, famous Australian industrial band, EBM as well, Severed Heads. But my ultimate VHS that I have to show, since so many people have been making me jealous, showing me the vinyl version, I really got to get this soundtrack on vinyl. This is one that we played to death as a kid back in the day. This is Suburbia. The classic punk movie, and we like rewind over and over again the live parts of this for DI, TSOL, and the Vandals. In fact, as a kid, I even made like my own homemade Vandals t-shirt at one point with some stick-on glue. So yeah, Suburbia. Don't know if I bought it for $5, but I did get it cheap back in the day. I think I got this DVD as well. So that's number 18, 19. Show your second, 3rd or 23rd tape in your collection, because I'm assuming that some people just do not have the massive amount of cassettes. They do not have 500 plus cassettes, but some people in the VC do. That I am sure, especially some of the metal guys, maybe some of the punk guys as well, or others. So if you don't have a large tape collection, show me the 2nd or 3rd in your collection. It's kind of a tough one too, because it depends on how you sort your tapes. You could do it through Discogs or whatever. I picked the 23rd cassette because it's 2023 out of my noise / punk industrial section, which is a very large section. Got all the way down to B for The Bergenist is the one that I picked out. From Dualism to Monoism, and this is on the kind of controversial punk, synth punk, techno industrial label Clandestine Records out of Scotland. They do some mixtapes, they do some original pressing stuff. They had the Stryboard cassette, I think, on their label too. So this is Bergenist. I think this is kind of darkened industrial, if memory serves me correct. Number 20. Last question, plus there's a bonus. Show a double cassette tape or a box set, or a tape from a box set. Now, I don't actually have the box set, but I do have a cassette from the box set. That's this Celtic Frost Monotheist. This was like kind of their comeback record after they did those crappy Vanity and Cold Lake U-turns into hair metal. Then they got back to like the darkened stuff, as you can see. Pioneers of first wave black metal. So yeah, this is a really cool cassette. I actually got it out of the tape box. There was a tape box set a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, sold out online, but you could buy some elements of the box set. So that's where this one came from. Century Media, in fact, limited 500 copies. It's a new reissue of that. But I do have a couple of, I have some double cassettes as well. This one actually just picked up this past year. This is a double cassette. And the artist is Alex York. This is Buenos Aires 1899. Again, on that Absurd Exposition label I was mentioning from Montreal, which is a noise experimental label. They put out this double cassette. There you go. I'm not sure what the date was on that, but it's pretty recent. Actually, it's 2020, recorded through 2020 to 2022, so it could have made my 2022 best of. This is an older one too. I'm not even really sure what this one is all about or how I got this thing, but this is Final Notice, Dernier Avis, a double cassette. It says, "This is finished. Then is finished the mystery of God." So I'm thinking some pretty hard industrial noise on this double cassette. Now, last but not least, on a much less serious note, show us a cassingle. I got a cassingle here. How about "Oh Carolina" by Shaggy? So there it is, guys. That is the cassette tag for 2023. Fill it out. Post your response if you dare, and let me know down in the link below if you have done a response. And I'll see you guys in the next one.